You have to step back.
Right.
You have to step back, and you have to feel the energy of the person, and if it doesn't feel right, you have to start making some adjustments, and you have to talk about it, and you have to get very realistic about why you're in this relationship. And if you're moving in different directions, you have to make your adjustments and go in different directions. And if it's not moving in the direction that you want it, you have to decide, where do you want to go from then, instead of continuing to go into something that's really not going to work for you.
Yeah.
So being centered.
I'm really interested in hearing more about what you're talking, because I hear you talking about feeling their energy, being aware of your energy. So that seems really important. But just for a moment here, you're listening to Party 93.4. I'm mixologist Melody Brooke, and this is Lynn Fabia. She's talking about why the divorce rate is climbing. She's the author of a book called The Martial Art of Life, The Art of Intentional Living. And we're broadcasting also on WXPO at 102.5 FM in New York. Tune in every week, because we're going to keep doing talks like this, talking about relationships and intimacy. And I was just asking Lynn about energy, and I'm gathering that's coming from your martial art background, and I'd like to hear more about how you apply that to relationship.
Yes, I've been in Aikido for over 25 years, and it has concepts of recovery, of balance, of non-resistance, of being centered, of moving forward, which help you a great deal when you're dealing with a physical attack, energy, and how to deal with it, and not becoming a part of their creation. For example, somebody comes at you with an intent to hurt you. You get off the line of attack, so you're not there, and you neutralize it by redirecting it. So what we're doing is not becoming a part of his creation, his or her creation. If we're there and we don't define our boundaries, it's not going to be so good for us, because they have an intent of a lower nature to hurt. So we do claim our space. This is not a passive martial art, but it's not aggressive either. We don't have that intent to hurt somebody, but we won't allow somebody to hurt us. And using these principles and teaching them.
In psychological terms, that's what you're really talking about, is having good boundaries.
Exactly, and that's it. And this refers to every area in your life. So in the beginning, I was teaching self-defense only, and this changed a few years ago, and I began teaching Aikido for life and taking it to the masses and not just for martial artists. So this book, which has a nice chapter on relationships and fear and self-actualization, vibration, I'm taking the concepts of Aikido and using it as a metaphor for life, because it works very well.
Well, I really like what you say about that, because my model has to do with understanding that when we get into a relationship and someone says something or does something that we take as an attack, or we take as a wounding comment or behavior, we tend to react in a defensive mode. And when we do that, it's very damaging to the relationship, when there are alternative ways to react. We don't have to react that way, even though it sort of feels like our primitive brain says, I got to protect myself, right?
Exactly, right. And this is what I don't teach. I do not teach reaction. I teach response. And that's really important, because
I'm not sure I heard that quite right. What you said was you don't teach reaction. What you teach is response.
To be reactive. I do not teach to be reactive. I teach to be responsive, because reactive is detrimental. It's not thinking. It's just jumping in. Whether you're in a business situation or a relationship, it's detrimental. You cannot be reactive.
Oh, but that's so
creative.
Hard to do, isn't it?
It's something you have to untrain yourself, and that's
right.
what I teach. When we're on the mat, and I showed you how being reactive does not work in your favor. It never works.
Never.
But redirection, never. And I have a chapter about about redirection. It works 100% of the time.
Well, I'm curious about that. Talk to me about how you do redirection. I mean, I can see how you do redirection in Aikido. So how do you talk to me about how you do that in a relationship?
In a relationship? Okay. Let's say the person that you're with says something to you, and it doesn't feel right to you. Maybe they blamed you for something, and it didn't feel right. So, number one, you have to know that it's not personal.
Right. That's absolutely right. It is not personal. So you have to change how you think about it in your head. You first of all tell yourself, this is not about me. This is not about me.
You have to say that. You have to think that, because if you didn't, you would react. That's what makes us react. We take everything personal. We take it as a personal, as we're being victimized.
Right.
And we're not. Because if we do take it personally, then that puts us, we're holding on to a lower vibration. And we have to keep our vibration high and not become a part of, let's say a person, when they say something, it's a form of attack. So we become a part of that. We step off the line, and we can answer that and respond by a question.
Well, yeah, that's good, because a lot of times I think that our partners will say things that we interpret as blame or an attack, and it may not have been intended that way at all. So that's asking the question. So, very good.
Right, so by asking the question, we can redirect that energy by saying, what makes you want to say that to me?
Find out more information.
And you let them answer it. So you're redirecting right from the start. You're not blaming. You're redirecting the energy and saying, what made you speak to me that way?
Yeah, you're not attacking back.
Answer it.
Right.
Because they probably don't know they're coming across. Maybe they were stressed. They just probably came from somewhere. They had to drive through on the freeway, and there was a lot of stress just driving to get to see you.
Right. You don't know what the background is, right?
You don't know. There's nobody that knows all the information that's going on to a person's mind when they say something. And you have to consider that.
Even the person doesn't necessarily know what's going on inside.
They don't know. They don't know. So you're going to bring it up to their attention diplomatically, not by attacking. Because that'll create more imbalance and more chaos. So you step off the line and you address it by saying, what makes you want to say that to me? And so you're defining your boundaries by not allowing somebody to speak to you that way, but getting to the source of,
or at least, I mean,
really going on.
Or even understanding what's going on changes the context, and you don't have to. The other person can have whatever they're feeling, because one of the problems that I had early in my marriage, I'm going on my 10th anniversary coming up June 19th, and thank you. I'm very excited. I've been married twice before. This is my first 10th anniversary, so there you go. Something's working better.
That's an accomplishment.
Yes, it is. But early in our relationship, he's a computer programmer, so he's on the computer and he's dealing with those frustrations, which computers drive me crazy. So but I don't know how he does it. All day long he's working on the computer. So, he'd be programming, and I'd come in and I'd say something to him and he'd snap at me,
Oh, okay.
And so
that wasn't toward you.
It had nothing to do with me, but early on I would
How did you deal with it?
I just would I used to, take it very personally, and then finally, we would talk about it, and it's like, hey, you just can't interrupt me when I'm in the middle of doing stuff on the computer, because I'm very focused, and when you interrupt me, it throws me off, and and then I'm able to take it as not being personal,
And so that helps your relationship.
Oh,
see, a little
so much.
Can be monumental. Understanding goes a long way.
Yes. And, and it's not his anger and his frustration is his, and it's his right to have it. It's not like it's wrong or bad.